You think you've heard every prison story? You think you know how power works? You think you've seen justice served? Not like this. What you're about to witness isn't just a story, it's a revelation. When a billionaire's son believes he's untouchable, when corruption runs so deep it has a price tag, when one man loses everything and discovers the only way out is through his brother's darkness, that's when the real game begins. If you're ready to see how far power can fall and how high revenge can rise, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button because stories like this, they don't come around twice. Let's go. This is a story about a man who believed in fairness until a prison showed him that justice belongs to whoever can pay for it. About a footballer framed for fraud, thrown into a system where a billionaire's son terrorizes with impunity. About the moment he watched that bully kiss a janitor as punishment, humiliate him in front of everyone, and walk away untouched. About the choice between staying good in a place designed to break you or calling the one person powerful enough to burn it all down. About what happens when morality meets money, when a man loses everything, and when a brother who lives in shadows finally steps into the light. This is about Gordon Genovese, and this is how the world learned that some people can't be touched, until they can. Gordon's cleats hit grass for the last time as a free man. The stadium roared, 80,000 voices blending into one sound, pure deafening belief. He'd just threaded the ball through 3 defenders, precision over chaos, the kind of pass that would replay on screens for weeks. His teammate was already celebrating the goal before it happened. Then the whistle came. Wrong pitch, too sharp. Too cold. Gordon turned. Federal agents in tactical vests swarmed the field from both sides. Coordinated. Professional. His teammates froze mid-celebration, confusion spreading like poison. The crowd's roar fractured into confusion, then silence. Gordon Gabriel Genovese. The agent's hand was already reaching for cuffs. You're under arrest for financial fraud and money laundering. Gordon's hands didn't shake when the metal clicked around his wrists. His jaw tightened. That was all. No pleading, no protest. Just that jaw muscle flexing once, twice as cameras captured every angle. The crowd found its voice again, not cheering now, gasping, murmuring, the kind of collective shock that sounds like wind through dead trees. 3 weeks later, Stonewall Prison. The transport bus doors opened to concrete and wire and the smell of industrial bleach mixed with something Gordon couldn't name. Despair, maybe. Or just time, compressed and recycled. Move. The guard's hand was on his shoulder. Not rough, not gentle, functional. 11 other men shuffled off the bus in chains. Gordon was the only one still wearing an expression. The others had already learned to make their faces blank. Survival tactic, camouflage, processing stripped more than clothes. They took his watch, his mother's cross on a chain, each item catalogued and bagged, while a guard with dead eyes read from a form without looking up. Turn around, arms out, squat, cough. Gordon's fists clenched. Just for a second, the guard's eyes flicked up, caught it, filed it away as potential trouble. You got a problem, 47? No, sir. Gordon's voice was flat, empty. The first lesson, swallow it down. Cell 47. Block C, second tier. The door slammed behind him with a finality that cameras couldn't capture. His cellmate sat on the bottom bunk, arms crossed, eyes measuring. Rico. Gordon would learn the name later. Right now he was just another obstacle in a game Gordon didn't know the rules to. You the footballer. Rico's voice carried something between curiosity and warning. Gordon didn't answer. He climbed onto the top bunk, thin mattress, thinner pillow, and stared at ceiling tiles stained with decades of condensation and cigarette smoke. His hands were steady on his chest. His jaw was tight. That night, someone 3 cells down screamed until guards came. Gordon didn't flinch, didn't ask, just learned another rule. Some sounds you ignore. Day 3. The yard. Morning recreation. 7 a.m. October cold, that bit through prison-issue uniforms. Gordon walked the perimeter alone, hands in pockets, shoulders hunched against wind and scrutiny. The yard operated on invisible borders. Groups clustered by race, by crime, by time served. Gordon was an island, too new to have allies, too famous to be invisible. That's when he saw him. Doyle Mackenzie stood at the yard's center like he owned the concrete under his boots. 6'3", shoulders like a linebacker. 3 men orbited him, laughing at his jokes, moving when he gestured, extensions of his will. Gordon had seen men like this before. Bullies wore the same expression everywhere, that casual certainty that consequences were for other people. But it was the old man that caught Gordon's attention. The janitor pushed his cleaning cart across the yard, stopping to pick up trash prisoners dropped without looking. Grey hair, glasses held together with tape, shoulders permanently hunched from years of bending, reaching, cleaning up after men who didn't see him. Gordon watched him work, methodical, invisible. Then Doyle's voice cut across the yard. "Hey, old man!" The conversation stopped. Not suddenly, that would draw guard attention. But voices dropped, bodies angled toward the center, everyone suddenly aware that something was about to happen. The janitor looked up, confusion in his eyes. That deer-in-headlights freeze of someone who knows their prey but doesn't know why. Doyle crossed the yard in long strides. His crew followed, wolves closing in. Gordon's hands came out of his pockets, slowly. His weight shifted forward onto the balls of his feet, athlete's instinct reading the play before it happened. "You missed a spot." Doyle pointed at clean pavement. The janitor scrambled on hands and knees, gathering bottles with shaking fingers. His glasses fell off. He fumbled for them, blind and desperate. Gordon's jaw clenched. His fists tightened at his sides, every muscle in his body coiled, ready to move. Doyle grabbed the janitor's face, rough, possessive, tilted it up, then kissed him. Hard, mocking. The yard went from nervous laughter to shocked silence. Even Doyle's crew stopped smiling. When Doyle released him, the janitor stumbled back. His hand touched his mouth like he could wipe it away. His eyes were wet behind crooked glasses. "That's what you get for doing a shit job." Doyle grinned at his audience, turned it into a show, into entertainment, more laughter, louder now. "Everyone understand the lesson. This could be you. This will be you, if you step wrong." The janitor gathered his supplies in silence. No one helped. No one spoke. 3 guards stood at the yard's edge, 30 yards away, eyes forward, radios silent. Gordon watched it all. His fists were still clenched. His breathing was controlled, in through nose, out through mouth, the way coaches taught him to manage adrenaline. But his eyes never left Doyle. The bully caught his stare, held it, smiled, then walked away, crew trailing behind, already forgetting the old man still kneeling on concrete. Gordon unclenched his fists, slowly, forced his fingers to straighten, his shoulders to relax, his face to go blank. But something had shifted, something that couldn't be unclenched. That night, Gordon lay in his bunk and stared at ceiling cracks he'd counted 47 times. Rico snored below. The prison made its night sounds, doors, shouts, the fluorescent hum that never stopped. Gordon's hands rested on his chest, steady, controlled, but his jaw was tight enough to crack teeth. As Gordon steps into a world where money silences truth, will he remain the man he is, or become what this place demands? Gordon learned the prison's second language in silence, not the words guards shouted during count or the codes prisoners whispered in chow lines. The other language, the one written in glances, in who sat where, in which doors opened for which men and which stayed locked. Money talked here, just in a different accent. Week 2. Kitchen detail. Steam rose from industrial sinks. Gordon's hands were submerged in water hot enough to hurt, scrubbing pans crusted with food he'd never eat. Around him, men worked in rhythm. Peel, chop, scrub, repeat. Machines playing their parts. His supervisor, Martinez, moved through the kitchen like smoke. 50-something, scarred knuckles, eyes that caught everything and revealed nothing. "You." Martinez's voice was barely above the clatter. "Back room, mops leaking." Gordon followed. The back room was storage, dry goods on metal shelves, cleaning supplies, the kind of space guards checked once a week and forgot about in between. Martinez closed the door. The kitchen noise became muffled, distant. "You're watching Doyle?" Not a question. Gordon's shoulders tensed, just slightly. Everyone watches Doyle. Most watch to avoid. You watch to understand. Martinez pulled a cigarette from behind his ear. Contraband. But he lit it anyway. That'll get you killed. He assaulted that janitor. In front of everyone. Guards did nothing. Guards do what they're paid to do. Martinez exhaled smoke toward a vent that hadn't worked in years. Last man who filed a complaint against Doyle? Transferred to max security 2 days later. Assault on a guard, they said. Guard didn't have a scratch on him. Just had a statement. That's how it works. Gordon's jaw tightened. So everyone just accepts it. We survive it. There's a difference. Martinez stubbed out the cigarette against the wall. His father's got contracts with the state, built half the prisons in this system. You think that money stops at construction? It buys silence, it buys cooperation, it buys men. The door opened. Another inmate. Martinez's expression shifted back to supervisor mode. Mop's in the corner, get back to work. Gordon grabbed the mop, but his hands were shaking now, just slightly. Adrenaline or rage, he couldn't tell the difference anymore. Week 3, late night cleaning shift. The common area was empty except for Gordon and the janitor. Midnight, fluorescent lights humming their constant song. Gordon mopped one side. The janitor cleaned tables on the other. They'd been working in silence for 20 minutes when the old man spoke. You're wondering how he gets away with it. Gordon stopped mopping. The janitor kept working, didn't look up, just kept wiping the same table over and over. My name's Samuel. His voice was educated, refined. Wrong for this place. Former high school English teacher. Caught with 2 ounces 11 years ago. Been here ever since. Why are you telling me this? Because you're different. Samuel's hands stilled on the table. You have resources on the outside. You have a name people recognize. Most of us, we're invisible. He moved to the next table. Gordon followed, mop forgotten. It's not just Doyle, it's the whole structure. Samuel's voice dropped lower. His father, Marcus Mackenzie, he renovated this facility 5 years ago. The warden's office, Mackenzie Interiors, the new medical wing, Mackenzie Development, the man's fingerprints are on everything. Gordon's fists clenched around the mop handle. The warden knows. The warden profits. Guards get Christmas bonuses from anonymous donors. The prison psychologist, Dr. Chen, she's the key. Every complaint I file, she evaluates me. Every time she determines I'm mentally unstable, attention-seeking, delusional. She writes beautiful reports, clinical, professional, convincing. Samuel finally looked at Gordon. His eyes were tired but clear, sane, completely sane. There are 4 of us, 4 prisoners Doyle cycles through. We all filed complaints. We all got evaluated by Dr. Chen. We all got labeled unreliable. And Mackenzie's lawyers used those reports to bury everything. Gordon's breathing was controlled, but his nostrils flared. How deep does this go? All the way. The deputy commissioner, former business partner of Mackenzie, state inspector, owes Mackenzie favors from a land deal. 2 guards, Harris and Cho, they're on direct payroll. They make sure cameras are off at the right times, make sure certain incidents never make the logbook. A door clanged somewhere distant. Both men went back to cleaning, performing normal. When the sound faded, Samuel continued. 6 months, that's all Doyle has left. Then he walks free. And this system stays intact. The warden retires with a Mackenzie-funded pension. Dr. Chen gets her promotion. Harris and Cho get their bonuses. And men like you? We stay, we survive. We wait for the next Doyle. Samuel's hands were trembling now as he sprayed cleaner on another table. I'm telling you this because you're the only one who might be able to do something. You have a brother, the one on the outside, the one with power. Gordon's jaw clenched so hard, a muscle jumped in his cheek. We're not close. Then you better hope blood is thicker than pride. Samuel picked up his supplies. Because if you don't act, If you just do your time and walk away when your chance comes, this continues. Forever. He pushed his cart toward the exit, then stopped. He doesn't just humiliate us, you know. The kiss, that's just the public part. What happens in the showers, in storage rooms, when his crew corners us? Samuel's voice cracked. Dr. Chen calls that fabricated trauma-seeking attention. She writes it in our files. Makes us unreliable before we even speak. The door closed behind him. Gordon stood alone in the empty common area. His hands were shaking on the mop handle. His breathing was shallow, in, out, trying to control the rage building in his chest like pressure in a sealed container. He looked up at the security camera in the corner, red light blinking, recording everything, recording nothing that mattered. Gordon's reflection stared back from the polished table surface. He barely recognized the face looking back, jaw tight, eyes hard, something fundamental shifting behind them. That night. Cell 47. Gordon lay on his bunk, staring at cracks in the ceiling. Rico snored below. The prison breathed its night sounds. Gordon's hands rested on his chest. Steady now. But his mind was racing. His whole life had been built on a belief that the system worked, that fairness existed, that if you played by the rules protected you. He'd been naive, willfully blind. A child playing a child's game while grown men wrote the real rules in back rooms with checkbooks. His brother Leon had tried to tell him, years ago. Over dinner, their mother insisted they share, despite the tension thick enough to cut. The world doesn't reward goodness, Gordon. It rewards power. And the sooner you learn that, the sooner you stop being a victim. Gordon had walked out that night, drove home angry, self-righteous, certain that Leon was just cynical, just bitter, just wrong. But Leon wasn't wrong. He was experienced. Gordon's jaw clenched in the dark. His hands formed fists on his chest. He forced them open, clenched them again. Physical manifestation of a choice forming in his mind. He thought about Samuel, about the others, about systematic abuse protected by systematic corruption, about a machine designed to destroy the powerless while the powerful walked free, about his pride, his principles, his moral high ground. And he thought about Leon, who'd offered help and been refused, who operated in shadows Gordon had judged him for, who fought dirty because clean fighting was a luxury only the powerful could afford. Gordon sat up. Rico stirred but didn't wake. In the dim cell light, Gordon could see his hands. Footballer's hands, precise, controlled. Hands that had never thrown a punch outside the rules of the game. His right hand was trembling. Tomorrow, he'd use his phone privileges. Tomorrow, he'd swallow his pride. Tomorrow, he'd ask Leon for help. Not just help. War. His hands steadied, his jaw relaxed. For the first time since his arrest, Gordon felt something other than despair. He felt purpose. The man he thought was just a bully wasn't surviving the system. He was funding it. It happened during lunch. Day 23. Gordon counted everything now. Days, meals, ceiling cracks, the seconds between one breath and the next. The cafeteria was controlled chaos. 300 men filing through lines. Metal trays clanging, voices echoing off concrete walls. Gordon sat with Rico and two others from Block C. Quiet guys, heads down guys, the kind who'd learned that invisibility was survival. Gordon was learning too. Fork to mouth, eyes on his tray. Conversations kept neutral. Weather, commissary prices, anything that didn't matter. Then a tray slammed down across from him. Doyle, 6 inches from Gordon's face, grinning like a shark smelling blood. The table went silent. Rico's fork froze halfway to his mouth. The other two found reasons to study their food with sudden fascination. Gordon didn't look up, kept chewing, swallowed, took another bite. Athletes' discipline. Control the response, control the situation. Gordon Genovese. Doyle's voice was loud enough to carry, loud enough to attract attention. The fallen hero, the moral compass. How's that working out for you? Gordon set down his fork, slowly, precisely, looked up. Doyle's eyes were empty. That special kind of empty that comes from never facing consequences, never learning boundaries, never understanding that other people are real. "I'm eating," Gordon said, flat, emotionless. Yeah, me too. Doyle gestured at his crew, Vic, Jamie, Torres, who'd materialized around the table like summoned demons. I'm eating whatever I want, whenever I want, because that's how it works here. You get that yet? Gordon's jaw tightened, just slightly. But Doyle caught it, caught everything. Predators always did. There it is. Doyle leaned forward. That little muscle in your jaw, tension, anger. You want to do something, don't you? Want to be the hero, want to stand up for what's right? The cafeteria had gone quiet around them, not silent, that would bring guards. But 300 men were suddenly very interested in their food, while their ears tracked every word. Gordon's hands were flat on the table, steady, but his knuckles were white where they pressed against the metal. I asked you a question. Doyle's smile vanished. You want to be a hero? No. Gordon's voice was ice. I want to eat my lunch. See, I don't think that's true. Doyle stood up, walked around the table, stopped behind Gordon. I think you're sitting here planning, thinking, judging, just like you judged in that yard. When you watched me teach that old man a lesson and your fists got all tight. Doyle's hand landed on Gordon's shoulder, heavy, possessive. Gordon's entire body tensed. I saw you watching. Doyle's breath was hot on Gordon's ear. Saw you getting all righteous, all moral, but you didn't do anything, did you? Know why? Gordon didn't answer. His breathing was controlled, in through nose, out through mouth, but his heart was hammering against his ribs. Because you're smart, Doyle continued. Because you know how this works now. You know that I can do whatever I want, to whoever I want, and nobody stops me. Not guards, not the warden, not you. He squeezed Gordon's shoulder, hard. You're just another number in grey, footballer, and the sooner you accept that, the easier your time here gets. Gordon's hands were shaking now, subtle, but there. Rico saw it. Doyle saw it. Everyone within 10 feet saw it. Doyle moved back around the table, picked up Gordon's tray, looked at it, then dumped it on the floor. Food splattered across Gordon's shoes, milk spread across concrete. The crash echoed. Clean that up. Doyle's voice was casual, like he'd just asked for salt. 300 men watched. 300 men who'd made the calculation. Their safety versus someone else's dignity. Math that always solved the same way. Gordon stared at the mess. At his hands, footballer's hands, precise and controlled, now trembling with rage he couldn't express. Slowly, Gordon stood up. Doyle's smile widened. That's it. Stand up, be a man. Show everyone you've got a spine. Gordon bent down, picked up his tray from the floor, scraped food back onto it with his hands. The cafeteria watched him kneel, watched him submit, watched the lesson being taught. When Gordon stood up, his jaw was so tight he could hear his teeth grinding. His hands were steady now, too steady, the kind of control that comes from pressing down so hard on emotion that it turns into something dense, something dangerous. He looked Doyle in the eye. You done? For now. Doyle turned to his crew. Come on. I'm bored. They walked away, laughing, performing, making sure everyone understood who ran. Block C. Gordon stood there holding a tray of floor food. His hands weren't shaking anymore. His breathing was even. But his eyes, Rico would tell others later, his eyes had changed. Like something behind them had finally broken, or finally woken up. That night. The showers. Gordon went late, when most of the block was already locked down. Steam filled the space, turning fluorescent lights into blurred halos. Water drummed against tile in a constant rhythm that almost sounded like rain. He stood under the showerhead with water streaming down his back, eyes closed, trying to wash away the humiliation, the rage, the feeling of kneeling on cafeteria floor while 300 men watched. Footsteps, 3 sets, echoing off tile. Gordon's eyes opened. His posture didn't change, but every muscle in his body was suddenly aware, calculating, preparing. Vic stepped into view first, then Jamie, then Torres, Doyle's crew, the enforcers. Gordon turned off the water, faced them, naked and exposed but refusing to show fear. Message from Doyle. Vic's voice echoed off tile. Apologize for the disrespect. Make it right, or things get worse. Gordon reached for his towel. Slow, non-threatening, wrapped it around his waist. I wasn't disrespectful. You looked at him wrong. Jamie stepped closer. You're carrying attitude. We can all see it. Doyle can see it. So either you fix it or we fix it for you. Gordon's jaw clenched. His hands gripped the towel. I'm not apologizing for eating lunch. The three men exchanged glances, some unspoken agreement passing between them. Wrong answer, Vic said. They moved fast. Professional. Gordon got his hands up, but Vic was bigger, Jamie was quicker, and Torres hit like a hammer. The first punch caught Gordon in the ribs, precise, brutal, designed to hurt without leaving marks that guards would question. Gordon went down on the wet tile, tried to cover up, tried to protect his head. But 3-on-1 was just math, and math didn't care about training or discipline or moral superiority. Vic's boot connected with Gordon's stomach. Air exploded from his lungs. He curled tighter, gasping, water and blood mixing on white tile. Remember, Vic crouched down next to him, this is on you. You could have made it easy. They left him there. Footsteps fading. Shower still running somewhere. Gordon lay on cold tile, gasping, ribs screaming, tasting copper. His hands were pressed against tile, shaking. Not from pain, from rage. Pure, distilled, undiluted rage that had nowhere to go, no outlet, no release. He stayed there until the water ran cold, until his breathing steadied, until he could move without wanting to scream. When Gordon finally pulled himself up, he looked at his reflection in the fogged mirror. Split lip, bruise forming on his jaw, eyes that looked like strangers' eyes. He thought about the phone call he'd planned to make, to Leon, to the brother who solved problems with power instead of principles. Tomorrow couldn't come fast enough. He smiled with broken teeth and money in his eyes. Gordon didn't move. Not yet. The beatings came in waves after that. Never enough to hospitalize, always enough to remind. Shoulder check in the hallway. Gordon stumbled into the wall, pain flaring in ribs still healing. Foot swept during yard time, face first into concrete, hands scraped raw. Elbow to the back during chow line. Tray dropped, guards looking everywhere except at Gordon picking up food again. Doyle's crew worked in rotation, professional, systematic, and the message was clear, submission or suffering. Gordon chose suffering. Week 5, cell 47. Gordon stopped going to the yard, stopped sitting in the common area, stayed in his cell during free time, lying on his bunk, staring at ceiling cracks that had become his entire universe. Rico watched him retreat, watched him disappear into himself. You gotta eat more, Rico said one night. You're losing weight. Gordon didn't answer. His hands rested on his chest. Steady, but empty, like the person inside had evacuated, leaving just the machinery running. Gordon, Rico sat up on the bottom bunk. This ain't the way. You turtle up like this, you don't make it out. I've seen it before. Guys who just fade. I'm fine. You're not fine. You look like a ghost, man. You gotta fight back. Even if you lose, you gotta fight back. Gordon's voice was hollow. Against what? Against a system that's bought and paid for? Against guards who won't see? Against a bully whose daddy owns half the state? His hands formed fists on his chest. Tell me how to fight that, Rico. Tell me the strategy. Because I'm a footballer, I understand strategy, I understand discipline, but this isn't a game with rules. Rico was quiet for a long moment. So what are you going to do? Gordon stared at the ceiling. I don't know yet. But he did know. Deep down, in that place where pride and principle were suffocating under the weight of reality, he knew. Week 6. The breaking point. Gordon had been writing letters he never sent, kept them hidden under his mattress, pages torn from a notebook he'd bought from commissary, words scrawled in pencil, letters to Leon. I was wrong. You were right. The world doesn't reward goodness. It rewards power, and I need yours. I'm in over my head. There's a man here who... Help me. Please. I'm asking. Finally asking. Help me. Each letter more desperate than the last. Each one unsent, because sending meant admitting defeat. Meant acknowledging that his principles weren't armor. Meant becoming the thing he'd judged Leon for being. That night, Gordon pulled out all the letters, 17 pages. 6 weeks of pride slowly dissolving into ink. He looked at them, read them, saw his own handwriting getting shakier, more desperate, more broken with each page. Then he tore them in half. Not to destroy them, to decide. His hands shook as he held the pieces. This was the moment. Keep pretending principles mattered, or acknowledge that survival required tools he'd spent a lifetime refusing to pick up. "What are you doing?" Rico watched from the bottom bunk. Gordon didn't answer. He tore the letters again, smaller pieces, then smaller. Until they were confetti in his hands, pride reduced to fragments. He stood, walked to the small metal sink, dropped the pieces in, watched them scatter like snow. His reflection in the scratched metal above the sink showed a stranger, thinner, harder, eyes that had learned what powerlessness tasted like. Gordon turned on the faucet, watched the paper pieces swirl down the drain, watched 6 weeks of resistance disappear. When he climbed back onto his bunk, his hands were steady. His breathing was calm, his jaw was relaxed, but inside, something fundamental had changed. The man who'd walked into Stonewall believing in fairness had died somewhere in those letters. What remained was someone who understood that the world had two kinds of people, those with power and those who suffered under it. Gordon was done suffering. Tomorrow he'd use his phone privileges. Tomorrow he'd call Leon. Tomorrow he'd start playing by different rules, not the rules he believed in, the rules that worked. Gordon watched the flames devour the last letter. He had nothing left. No hope, no mercy. Week 7, morning count. Gordon stood at attention while guards walked the tiers. Same routine, same count, same prison. But something had shifted. In his posture, in his eyes, in the set of his jaw. Rico noticed. "You look different." "I feel different." Good different or bad different? Gordon didn't answer. The answer was necessary different. That afternoon, cleaning shift. Gordon was assigned to mop the administrative hallway, long corridor. Warden's office at one end, Dr. Chen's office in the middle, records room at the other end. Samuel was there too, emptying trash cans, wiping windows, existing in that invisible space janitors occupied. They worked in silence for 20 minutes. Then Samuel stopped in front of Dr. Chen's door. "She's in a meeting, won't be back for an hour." He pulled out a key ring. Janitors had access everywhere. "You want to see what's really in those files?" Gordon's hands tightened on the mop. "That's illegal? Dangerous?" Samuel's voice was bitter. "So is systematic abuse. So is falsifying psychological evaluations. So is covering up sexual assault. Pick your crime, Gordon." The hallway was empty. Camera in the corner had a dead bulb. Gordon had noticed it days ago. Samuel had noticed it too. "1 minute," Samuel said. "That's all you get. Enough to see, enough to know." Gordon set down the mop. His heart was hammering. This crossed a line. But what line was left that Mackenzie hadn't crossed first? Samuel unlocked the door. Gordon stepped inside. Dr. Chen's office was sterile, professional, diplomas on walls, bookshelf filled with psychology texts, desk organized and clean, the appearance of someone who helped people. The filing cabinet was locked. Samuel had a key for that too. Gordon's hands shook as he opened the drawer labeled MS, found the files. Samuel. 3 others he didn't recognize, all flagged with red stickers. He pulled Samuel's file. The complaints were all there, documented, dated, detailed. 9 separate reports over 2 years describing assault, intimidation, sexual abuse. Each one clearly written by someone educated, coherent, desperate. Then came Dr. Chen's evaluations. Patient demonstrates attention-seeking behavior consistent with personality disorders. Claims lack credibility due to history of fabrication. Patient's allegations appear to be manifestations of paranoid ideation. Recommend continued observation and possible medication adjustment. Patient has escalated claims to include multiple perpetrators, which aligns with patterns of delusional thinking. Reports lack evidence and contradict witness statements. Page after page. Clinical language wrapping lies in professional terminology, making victims sound crazy, making abuse sound imaginary. At the bottom of the file, a letter on Mackenzie-built letterhead. Not signed, just typed. Dr. Chen's consulting fees for Q3 $75,000. Quarterly retainer for psychological services rendered as discussed. Wire transfer to account ending in 8847. Gordon's hands were shaking so hard the paper rattled. This wasn't just corruption. This was industrial, systematic. A machine designed to protect predators and destroy anyone who spoke up. "See enough?" Samuel's voice from the doorway. "That's just mine. The others are worse. One guy tried to fight back physically. Dr. Chen diagnosed him with violent tendencies. He's in max security now, solitary, for the crime of defending himself." Gordon carefully placed everything back, closed the drawer, locked it, hands still trembling with rage so pure it felt like ice in his veins. They returned to the hallway. Gordon picked up his mop. Samuel emptied another trash can. 2 janitors doing their jobs. Nothing suspicious. Nothing wrong. Except Gordon's jaw was clenched so tight his teeth ached. His breathing was shallow. His hands gripped the mop handle like it was a weapon. "Now you know," Samuel said quietly. "Now you've seen it. The question is, what are you going to do about it?" Gordon looked at him. This man who'd been destroyed systematically for 2 years, who'd filed complaints that were weaponized against him, who'd trusted the system and been buried by it. "I'm going to end it," Gordon said. His voice was flat, final. All of it. The protection, the cover-up, everything. "How?" "I have a brother," Gordon resumed mopping. "He's not a good man, but he's powerful, and he knows how to fight dirty." "Will he help?" Gordon thought about Leon, about the brother he'd kept at distance, about the offer of help he'd refused out of pride. "Yeah," Gordon said. "He'll help, because that's what he does. He destroys people who think they're untouchable." His hands were steady now, his breathing was calm. The rage was still there but focused, weaponized, pointed at a target. For the first time in weeks, Gordon felt something other than powerless. He felt dangerous. The truth didn't set him free. It armed him. Act 6. The Call. Week 7. Phone privileges. Twice a week. 15 minutes. Monitored. Recorded. Gordon waited in line with a dozen other prisoners, watching the clock on the wall tick forward. His turn came at 2:47 p.m. He picked up the receiver, worn, greasy, smelling like desperation, dialed Leon's private number, the one only family had. 3 rings. Then, "Gordon." Leon's voice, deep, controlled, no surprise, no emotion, just acknowledgement. Gordon's throat tightened. His free hand formed a fist against the wall. "Leon." Silence. The kind that exists between brothers who've spent years not saying what needed to be said. "You're calling." Leon's voice carried something Gordon couldn't identify. "After refusing my help, after insisting you'd handle it yourself, after 6 weeks of nothing." A pause. "I'm listening." Gordon closed his eyes, swallowed his pride. It went down bitter. "I was wrong." The silence stretched. Gordon could hear Leon breathing, thinking, calculating. "Tell me everything," Leon said finally. So Gordon did. Started with Doyle and the janitor, with Samuel's revelations, with the systematic corruption, Mackenzie's contracts, Dr. Chen's falsified reports, guards on payroll, with his own beatings, with the machine designed to protect predators and destroy anyone who resisted. He laid it all out in clinical detail. Facts, evidence, names, the structure of the corruption, the depth of the rot. Leon didn't interrupt, didn't ask questions, just listened with the kind of focus Gordon recognized from childhood, the focus of someone cataloging information, measuring angles, planning war. When Gordon finished, Leon was quiet for exactly 10 seconds. Gordon counted them, could hear his brother's mind working through phone static. "Marcus Mackenzie," Leon said finally. His voice had changed, sharper, colder. "I know him, not personally, but I know his business, his weaknesses, his pressure points." A pause. "This will cost him everything." "Good." Gordon's voice was steel. "And your case? The fraud charges that put you there?" "I don't care about you should, because I do." Leon's voice turned hard. "You're my brother. You were set up by people who knew you wouldn't fight dirty. They used your morality as a weapon, made you the fall guy, and I let it happen because you told me to stay out." Gordon's throat tightened. His free hand pressed harder against the wall. "Leon, I'm not staying out anymore. I'm burning down everyone who put you there, everyone protecting them, everyone who thinks money makes them untouchable." Leon's voice was ice. "When I'm done, you walk out free and they go to prison. That's not negotiable." Gordon's voice cracked, just slightly. "How?" "The same way they did it. Money, influence, leverage." Leon paused. Gordon could hear him already moving, papers shuffling, keyboard clicking. "Mackenzie has state contracts. Those contracts require compliance audits. I'll make sure those audits happen. I'll fund the best forensic accountants in the country. I'll make sure investigators find everything. I'll make sure reporters start asking questions. I'll make sure his political friends suddenly don't know him. That takes time." "I started 3 hours ago." Leon's voice carried grim satisfaction. "I've been researching Mackenzie since you were arrested, waiting for you to ask. The moment you called, I made my first move. Right now, an anonymous donor, me, is funding a state investigation into prison contractors. By tomorrow, auditors will be examining Mackenzie's books. By next week, they'll find irregularities. By the week after, it's front-page news." Gordon's hand was shaking on the receiver, not from fear, from something else. Relief? Gratitude? He couldn't name it. "What about Doyle?" His voice was barely above a whisper. "Doyle's a symptom. His father's the disease. Take down Mackenzie. Doyle loses his protection, loses his power, loses everything." Leon paused. "But if Doyle touches you again before I finish this, you call me immediately. I don't care about the plan. I don't care about consequences. I'll end him myself. Understand?" Gordon understood. Leon didn't make threats. He made promises. "How long?" Gordon asked. 3 weeks. Maybe 4. I need to move carefully. Mackenzie's connected. But he's also arrogant. Thinks his money makes him immune. That's his weakness. He won't see it coming until it's too late. Can I last 3 weeks? Can you? Gordon thought about Samuel, about the others, about enduring 3 more weeks while Leon worked outside the walls, about the beatings that would continue, the humiliation, the systematic grinding down. He thought about the rage he'd been swallowing for 6 weeks, about what he'd seen in Dr. Chen's files, about the machine that needed to be destroyed. "Yeah," Gordon said, "I can last." "Then stay quiet. Stay safe. Don't do anything that gives them ammunition." Leon paused. "And Gordon?" "Yeah. You've always played fair. Now play to win." The line went dead. I still on the phone, processing everything that had just shifted. Outside these walls, his brother was already moving, already making calls, already weaponizing the same system that had weaponized itself against Gordon. 3 weeks. He could last 3 weeks. Gordon walked back toward his cell, hands steady, jaw relaxed, shoulders squared. For the first time since his arrest, he felt the balance shifting. Not in his favor yet, but shifting. And in a place where power was everything, shift was revolution. You've always played fair, now play to win. Week 9, Tuesday morning. Gordon woke to voices. Wrong voices, wrong tone. Rico was already at the cell door, hands gripped on bars, staring down at the common area. "Something's happening," Rico said. "Look." Gordon climbed down, looked. The yard was empty. Morning recreation had been cancelled without announcement. Guards were clustered near the entrance, talking in tight groups, hands on radios, expressions ranging from confused to worried. Then the front doors opened. Not the normal doors, the main entrance, the one that stayed locked except for official business. 20 people streamed in, suits, badges, federal agents, state auditors, investigators with briefcases and tablets, and the kind of purposeful movement that said they weren't asking permission. "Holy shit," Rico whispered. Gordon's hands gripped the bars. His heart was hammering. This was it. This was Leon's promise manifesting in real time. The warden appeared, running down the stairs from his office, tie askew, face red, words Gordon couldn't hear but could read in body language. Panic, desperation. The look of a man watching his world collapse. The lead agent, tall black woman, graying hair, expression that could freeze vodka, held up a badge and a document. Her voice carried through the entire facility. Federal warrant. This facility is under investigation for corruption, fraud, and civil rights violations. All administrative staff are to remain in place. No files are to be moved or destroyed. Compliance is not optional. The prison held its breath. Gordon watched as more agents filed in. Watched as they split into teams, some heading to the warden's office, others to records, still others interviewing guards who suddenly couldn't maintain eye contact. Then he saw them, Harris and Cho, the two guards on Mackenzie's payroll, being led out in handcuffs, their faces blank with shock, their careers ending in real time. "This is insane," Rico said. "This doesn't happen. Federal raids? Here." But Gordon knew it happened. When you had enough money, enough influence, enough determination, when you had a brother like Leon. 2 hours later, the facility was locked down, all prisoners confined to cells, guards walking tiers with expressions ranging from fear to relief. Some knew they were clean, others knew they weren't. Gordon watched through the bars as Dr. Chen was escorted out, her professional composure finally cracking, mascara running, hands shaking. The woman who'd falsified reports for 2 years, who'd destroyed victims with clinical language, who'd profited from protecting a predator, finally facing consequences. Samuel appeared in the hallway below, still pushing his cleaning cart, watching her go. Their eyes met across the distance. Gordon saw tears on Samuel's face. Not sadness, relief, vindication, the knowledge that someone finally believed him. The news broke by noon. Gordon heard it from prisoners in other cells shouting down the tiers, passing information cell to cell like a prison telegraph. Mackenzie's been arrested, federal charges, fraud, bribery, conspiracy. His company's assets frozen. Investigators found everything. The whole network, deputy commissioner, state inspectors, contractors, all going down. Gordon sat on his bunk, hands steady, breathing even, listening to the empire crumble. 3 weeks. Leon had promised 3 weeks. He'd delivered in 2. That afternoon, the cafeteria. Lockdown lifted for meal service. 300 men filed in quietly, whispering, energy electric, with the knowledge that the structure had shifted. Gordon got his tray, found a seat. Rico sat beside him, eyes wide, still processing. "Your brother did this," Rico said quietly. "He actually did it." Gordon didn't answer. His eyes were scanning the room, looking for Doyle. Found him. Doyle sat at his usual table, but the table was wrong now. His crew was there. Vic, Jamie, Torres. But they weren't orbiting anymore. They were sitting, separate, no longer extensions of his will. Because the will that had powered Doyle was gone, frozen in federal custody, dismantled by forensic accountants and state investigators, and the kind of justice that only happened when someone with Leon's resources decided to buy it. Doyle's face was pale. His hands were shaking on his tray. For the first time since Gordon had arrived, Doyle looked like what he really was. Just another prisoner, powerless, exposed, vulnerable. Their eyes met across the cafeteria. Doyle stood. His crew didn't follow. They watched. Everyone watched. The entire cafeteria suddenly aware that something was about to happen. Doyle crossed the room, each step slower than the last. No swagger now, no casual arrogance, just a man walking toward something he couldn't avoid. He stopped at Gordon's table, looked down. His hands were curled into fists but shaking. His jaw was tight. His eyes were desperate. "You," his voice cracked. "You did this. Your brother, he destroyed everything. My father's in custody. The lawyers won't return calls. The accounts are frozen. It's all gone. Everything." Gordon looked up. His expression was empty, cold. "Good." "Good?" Doyle's voice rose. "You think this is over? You think I'm done? I still have 6 months left in this place. 6 months to make you regret. You have 7 years. Gordon's voice cut through Doyle's rage like ice. New charges: assault, intimidation, conspiracy. The investigators found everything. Every complaint Samuel filed. Every report Dr. Chen falsified. Every payment your father made. They're building a case. And this time, nobody's protecting you. Doyle's face went from pale to white. That's not... They can't... They can. They are. They will. Gordon stood slowly, faced Doyle at eye level. You thought money made you untouchable. Turns out there's always bigger money, always someone with more power, always someone willing to use it. Doyle's fist came up, telegraphed, desperate, the swing of someone who'd never actually had to fight. Gordon caught it. Athlete's reflexes, midfielder's timing. Twisted Doyle's arm, stepped inside, drove his shoulder into Doyle's ribs. Not a street fight, a controlled takedown. Doyle stumbled back, swung again. Gordon slipped it, pivoted, swept Doyle's legs. The bigger man went down hard. His head cracked against the floor. The sound echoed through the cafeteria. Gordon stood over him. Could have kept going. Could have unleashed 6 weeks of rage and humiliation and powerlessness. Could have broken Doyle the way Doyle had broken others. Instead, he stepped back. It's over, Gordon said. You're done.
Guards rushed in, real guards this time, not Mackenzie's employees. They pulled Doyle up, cuffed him, dragged him toward solitary. He screamed the whole way. Threats, promises, the kind of rage that comes from someone watching their world end. The cafeteria stayed quiet. 300 men processing what they'd just witnessed. Power shifting, justice, real justice, bought and paid for, but justice nonetheless, finally happening. Gordon sat back down. His hands were steady. His breathing was even. His jaw was relaxed. You okay? Rico asked. Yeah, Gordon said. I'm okay. For the first time in 2 months, it was true. Week 12. Release day. Gordon walked out of Stonewall Prison 3 months early. The investigation had cleared him completely. The real criminals behind the fraud scheme had been exposed, arrested, charged. His record was clean. His name was clear. The media was there. Cameras, reporters, questions shouted from behind barriers. Gordon ignored them, kept walking. Leon was waiting by a black car. Same as always. Expensive suit, cold eyes, calculating expression. But when Gordon approached, something shifted. Leon's face softened. Just slightly, just enough. They stood there for a moment, brothers separated by philosophy, united by blood, united by war.
You kept your word, Gordon said. Always do. Leon opened the car door. What now? Gordon looked back at the prison, thought about Samuel, who'd been transferred to minimum security pending early release, thought about the others, lives saved by Leon's intervention, thought about Dr. Chen facing trial, thought about Harris and Cho already in custody, thought about Marcus Mackenzie, watching his empire collapse from a federal holding cell, thought about Doyle, facing 7 more years in a system that no longer protected him. Now, Gordon said, now I rebuild, get back to who I was. You're not who you were. Leon's voice was quiet. This place changed you. Gordon climbed into the car. Yeah, it did. As they drove away, Gordon looked back one last time, saw the walls, the wire, the gates that had held him. From somewhere inside he heard screaming. Doyle, still raging, still promising revenge that would never come. Gordon turned forward, didn't look back again. The stadium roared. Gordon had just scored the winning goal. Championship match, overtime, the kind of moment that defines careers. His teammates mobbed him. Cameras captured everything. The crowd chanted his name, redemption, comeback, triumph. But Gordon didn't celebrate like before, didn't pump his fists, didn't slide, didn't roar. He just stood there, breathing, feeling the weight of everything that had brought him here. In the VIP box, Leon watched, expression neutral. But Gordon saw it, the smallest nod, pride, acknowledgement, brotherhood. After the match, reporters swarmed. Questions about his time away, the charges, the corruption scandal coming back from adversity. Gordon gave them the trained answers, grateful, humbled, focused on the future. But alone in the locker room later, he pulled out his phone, sent a text to Samuel. "We won." The reply came fast, "No, you won. Some of us are still here, but it's better now. Thank you." Gordon sat with that message for a long time. Victory wasn't clean, justice wasn't complete. The system was still broken in 1,000 places, but it was better, marginally, incrementally, imperfectly. And maybe that was all anyone could hope for. He picked up his bag, turned off the lights, walked out into the cool night. The world was still unfair, power still mattered, money still corrupted. But Gordon Genovese was no longer naive enough to think morality alone could change that. And he was no longer broken enough to stop trying. When the gates opened, Gordon didn't run. He walked, because freedom isn't speed, it's silence. So, did you see that coming? Did you think Gordon would break? Did you believe Doyle was truly untouchable? That's the thing about real power. It's not about who's loudest. It's about who's willing to play the game nobody else can see. If this story gave you chills, made you think, made you feel something, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like button. Drop a comment telling me whose side you're on, Team Gordon or Team Leon. And if you want more stories that hit this hard, that make you question everything you thought you knew about justice, power, and brotherhood, subscribe right now. Because I promise you, we're just getting started. More stories, more truth, more fire. I'll see you in the next one. Now go. Share this. Let's wake people up. Tss.